Hi, it's me, Bella again. From the outside, it seemed like I'm a lucky girl who was achieving her goals one by one, from an outstanding rich kid boyfriend to a dream job. But somehow, my life was going downhill uncontrollably. I was standing in front of a hotel room, banging the door, and hoped that my boyfriend wasn't inside. I didn't understand. Just a few minutes ago, we were together at our 2-year anniversary. He was so caring and sweet, and he even invited me to his mom's birthday party. Everything was great until his phone rang. He told me it was a work thing and he had to leave. His work thing should never have happened here. But to my horror, Ed answered the door. He was completely flummoxed when he saw me, and the moment I looked over his shoulder, I saw a woman. She was sitting on the bed and eating chocolates with her cool, calm mind. Not like me. Yep, you guessed it. It was Diane. "Hey, Bella. So nice of you to join us," she smirked at me. I just stared at them, open-mouthed. This was the worst day of my life, and I didn't know how I was meant to react. Worse still, Ed didn't seem bothered that I was upset. No, all he cared about was the fact that people were walking past and giving him odd looks. He pulled me inside of that disgusting room and closed the door. This was the last place I wanted to be, but I knew I deserved answers.
"Why are you here, Bella?"
he asked me. "You and her?" I muttered out. Diane walked over to him and started rubbing his shoulders. Then she grinned at me and said, "It sure looks like it, doesn't it?"
"Bella, I'm sorry,"
he said. "Yeah, me too," I replied before I hurried out of there. Those traitors were welcome to each other. I was done. I was shaking so hard that I had to lean my back against the wall in the hotel lobby and burst out crying. Jeez, my heart ached so much. I wanted to hate Ed, but I still loved him. Worse still, I was still wearing the prettiest dress ever. At the start of the night, I'd felt like a princess, and now I felt like anything but a loser. I arrived home in tears, feeling so heartbroken and ashamed. What was wrong with me? How could he hurt me like this? Then my phone beeped. It was a message from Ed.
"I'm truly sorry, Bella. I will make it up to you."
What? How exactly did he intend on making it up to me? Was he going to give me a pay raise or get me promoted? Geez, how could he not see that this couldn't be fixed in that way? He'd ruined what we had. And what for? A bit of fun with some mean girl? I didn't even know who Ed was anymore. He changed so much, and now it felt like he was someone else entirely. The next day, I told Jim I was too sick to come into work. There was no way I could deal with seeing them all lovey-dovey together. But I would get over this. I'm a strong-minded person with big ambitions for my career, and there's no way I was letting them win. I just needed time for my body and mind to heal before I could go back to work and face them every day. But it was just so hard. I loved him and trusted him more than myself. Now the fact that he was cheating just broke my heart and drained my energy. I couldn't stop crying for days, and eventually felt like this was just not right. I would just become a loser only if I accepted it. I obviously deserved better than some cheating idiot in my life. Yeah, right. I had to move on, keep chasing my dream, and try my hardest for my own life, instead of wasting my time for someone who didn't deserve it. I wasn't hiding anymore, so I went back to work. When I arrived there, Jim came over to me and told me all about this amazing project he wanted me to work on if, of course, I was feeling up to it. Thanks, Jim, as this was the exact thing I needed right now to give me the kick I needed to move on. I immediately told him yes. I was ready to put my all into it. However, on my first day back to work, everyone in the office was gossiping about me. I knew this was down to Diane bragging about how Ed broke up with me for her. To make it even worse, Diane kept on popping up in front of me and loudly telling anyone who would listen how an amazing boyfriend Ed was. Ugh, why couldn't she just leave me alone? She was Ed's girlfriend now. Why wasn't that enough for her? I just didn't understand why she was so mean. Worse still, I then had to endure some boring meeting with both Diane and Ed. I was sitting next to Jim and trying my best not to look over at them when Ed announced who the new sales manager was. I swear my heart plummeted when he said it was Diane. When we finished the work, she stormed over to me, swished her hair, then said, "This is such a great week for me. I now have an awesome job to go with my amazing new boyfriend." I ignored her, pretending like I didn't hear her, and tried my best not to look like she was getting to me. No way was I going to cry in front of the entire office. She looked straight at me as she said, "Of course, I expect all work to be the highest standard, else there will be consequences."
Jim piped in, "Diane, you're in charge of sales, not the entire company. Now, if you excuse us, we have work to do."
Thank goodness for Jim, as there's no way I could have endured that meeting any longer. Right when we were out of the meeting room, I asked Jim about my upcoming project. All I wanted now was putting my focus into my work. Only Jim apologized that he was busy doing some emergency things, then asked if we could discuss the new project over dinner. I immediately agreed. Not only was I super excited to find out more about it, but it meant I wouldn't be stuck at home with nothing but my thoughts. He took me to this cool diner, which I'd never been to before, as Ed was a bit of a snob when it came to eating out and had refused to go anywhere but posh restaurants. Jim told me how it was a creative design project for a park entrance gate, and he was allowing me to make all the important decisions. Whoa! This was my golden chance to show what I was capable of. Since then, Jim became my knight in shining armor. He let me eat lunch in his office, and it was so good being away from all my gaping colleagues. We talked about this big project, joked about, and shared our sandwiches. On one such occasion, I was eating one of his peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when he looked at me, hesitated, then said,
"Do you remember what we talked about? That time at that bar?"
I nervously laughed, as I wasn't expecting him to bring that up again. "Yeah, we talked a lot. I was a bit drunk that night," he replied.
"Yes, but I wasn't. I told you that I trusted Ed and believed he would never let you down, and that I would help you get payback if it ever turned out I was wrong about him."
I sighed. I remember. It was a ridiculous wager.
"Bella, I'm a man of word. I'm here if you need me to help you get your own back on him."
I can't say I hadn't daydreamed about getting revenge on him. In my mind, there were many occasions where I had, whether it be by chopping up his clothes or by sending an email to the entire office listing his worst habits. I could have made my daydream a reality, but I wasn't going to. Ed was just a bad guy, and even though what he did hurt like crazy, I was going to learn and grow from it. So I replied, "Thanks, Jim, but it's okay. I'm not going to do that because that isn't the type of person I want to be. And it wouldn't be fair to make you that type of person either. Thanks, though. It means a lot that you do that for me." I saw how relieved Jim looked. He was a man of his word. But there's no doubting that he was a great guy, and getting revenge on people, even if they deserved it, wasn't his thing. So I continued to put my all into this project and try not to let work dramas get me down. Then one day, I turned up at work and saw Mr. Stafford in the foyer talking to Diane. This was strange, as on the rare occasions he was here, he tended to shut himself away in his office. Not only that, he looked so angry. I watched as a terrified-looking Diane followed him to his office. Then a few minutes later, Ed rushed up there too. Talk about drama! Oh well, at least no one was talking about me for once. By lunchtime, news got around that Diane had been fired. It turned out that she'd sold our company's design to another rival company, and now they were using it on one of the other construction projects. Jim was very annoyed about this, and I saw him getting angry with Ed on the fire escape. I got his point. It felt like our creativity had been stolen to benefit a girl who they never should have hired in the first place. Of course, Ed insisted he hadn't known anything about it, and he'd ended it with Diane as soon as he found out. He'd also convinced his dad not to pursue legal action against her. I knew that this was probably just to save his own ass. I mean, she was his girlfriend, after all. She could have implicated him in it. Now, thanks to Diane, we'd have to change some of the design elements on that project. This was a massive undertaking, and my teammates and I had to work overtime, and it was intense. One morning, I walked into work feeling tired and lethargic at the prospect of another long day when I saw a bunch of roses on my desk. I opened the card to see they were from Ed, with a note saying,
Bella, I miss you so much. Please give me another chance. Ed. X.
Wow. He'd just broken up with Diane, and now he wanted me back?